What's happening, guys and girls? Acrinator here, and welcome to another episode of World of Warcraft Dungeon Overview. This episode will finally be finishing up the Hellfire Citadel Dungeon Hub by going through its last remaining instance, the Shattered Halls. I'll be guiding you through it with my Death Knight you see here, so with that being said, let's dive straight into it. At the very center of all that goes on in Hellfire Peninsula, the Shattered Halls is where the strongest and most fearsome of the Fell Horde gather. The twice corrupted orcs bolster their defenses against the invaders that have besieged their citadel, and are willing to give up everything in honor of their warchief, Cargath Bladefist. These are the last remnants of the Fell Horde, and once they're dealt with, the forces of Azeroth will have gained a vital foothold in the broken world of Outland. It is up to us to end this battle that began so many years ago. The Shattered Halls is a level 65 to 70 dungeon with a level 70 heroic mode, which is what we'll be going through today. Just like the Hellfire Ramparts and Blood Furnace dungeons we covered a while ago, the Shattered Halls is located within the Hellfire Citadel dungeon hub in the center of Hellfire Peninsula. The entrance for this one is likely going to be the easiest out of the three to find, since it's smack dab in the middle of the Citadel. Regardless of what faction you're on, head to the bridge leading to the main section of the hub. If you're Horde, it'll be the first entrance on your right. If you're Alliance, just head past the Ramparts entrance and it'll be on your left. You'll know you're in the right place when you see the little portcullis that you can click on. Nether Curse was once a shaman of the Shadowmoon clan, before he followed Gul'dan's lead in learning the ways of fell magic. Like many others who strayed from the path of the elements, Nether Curse has become a cruel husk of his former self, and enjoys torturing younger fell orcs to test their mental and physical capabilities. Before you actually make it to the boss room, you'll notice that there's a large door that's locked. You can't get in by going straight through, so you have to go down into the sewers to your right. There will be some trash mobs in there that can definitely kill you if you're not paying attention, so be careful down there. The first major thing to look out for is that Nether Curse will place shadowy fissures on the ground. They are pretty easy to spot and are relatively small, so they shouldn't be too much of a problem to avoid unless you are the one they're placed underneath. The Grand Warlock will also cast Death Coil, though unlike the Death Knight version, this spell also fears its targets and causes a decent amount of damage. There's no avoiding this, so just be prepared to deal with someone in your group being feared for about 3 seconds. The last bit is something that I can't show on screen because I'd one-shot him, but the boss will cast Dark Spin once he reaches 25% health. Just like the name suggests, he spins around, damaging anyone within 5 yards. He'll also hurl Shadow Bolt randomly while doing this. The main thing to look out for here is that the damage he deals from spinning can actually spiral out of control easily, so if you're a meleeer and are beginning to die, just step back for a few seconds and allow the healer to catch up. Trust me, it's better than dying. Porong was one of the vicious orc warriors that took part in the battle for Shattrath prior to the First War on Azeroth. Countless lives were lost in the battle, and most of them were Draenei. Only the Prophet Valen and some lucky few were able to escape the orcs' bloodlust that day. Porong single-handedly slaughtered countless waves of the city's guards, but received some serious injuries in the process. As a result, he was unable to take part in the First and Second Wars on Azeroth. He has since served by Warchief Kargath's side, waiting for his chance at glorious battle once again, in the hopes of making up for lost time. Porong is surprisingly easy to fight by himself. Unfortunately, he's almost never alone. He'll periodically summon adds to run down and intercept you in the hallway leading up to the boss room. It's also very easy to aggro these within the boss room itself, so try and kite him to the far end of the room. What's more is that there are a few archers that will shoot fire arrows in the hallway, leaving burning pools in their wake. It's really just a bitch, but once you actually make it out of the hallway and into the room, things will get much easier. Like I already said, adds will still spawn every so often, but Porong himself only has a cleave ability. So casters, stay back, make sure to deal with the adds as they come, and you should be just fine. Once mortal enemies, the orcs and the ogres allied during the formation of the original Horde for the sake of eradicating the Draenei from the planet. Warbringer Ohm Raja is one of the more cunning of his kind, which has helped him move up the ranks in the Fell Horde. He now sits near the pinnacle, overseeing the vast majority of his peers, and only answers to the warchief himself. Despite the two heads constantly bickering with each other, Ohm Raja is the last obstacle we must overcome if we're to confront the warchief. Just a quick note, Ohm Raja is a heroic only boss, so if you're doing the normal version and wondering where he isn't showing, so just move on. Ohm Raja has a few slowing abilities, Thunderclap and Blast Wave. These both do a little bit of damage and slow anyone close enough for a few seconds. By themselves, these abilities aren't bad, but coupled with the next bit, they can wipe your group. Ohm Raja can cast Beatdown, where he focuses on a random player, clears all threat generated up till that point, and chases after said random player. His target takes significantly more damage if the boss is able to catch up with them, so make sure to pull out all of your root and movement speed abilities if you want to avoid losing party members. The last little thing is that Ohm Raja can cast Fear on all players close by, so just make sure the casters are keeping their distance and the boss should go down easily enough. Finally, a boss with some actual lore. Cargath Bladefist is one of the most ruthless orcs to have ever graced the field of battle. Originally the chieftain for the Shattered Hand clan, he was left in charge of preventing the original alliance from seizing control of Hellfire Citadel, while Ner'zhul traveled to the Black Temple to perform the ritual that would eventually turn Draenor into Outland. The battle was fierce, and it took many days, but Daneth Trobane's forces eventually managed to topple the unbreakable fortress. Despite losing many of his men and one of his arms in the battle, Cargath survived and continued to make raids on the remaining Alliance forces in Honor Hold. Over time, Cargath's forces had managed to take back what remained of Hellfire Citadel. There they waited to hear back from Gul'dan and the other orcs on Azeroth, but when word finally came, it wasn't what they had expected. The Alliance proved more cunning than the Horde had anticipated, and the Horde was either slaughtered or imprisoned. The Hellfire orcs almost gave in to despair, and were it not for Cargath's leadership, they would have. He took up the reins as the new warchief of all that remained of the original Horde, and gathered what little resources they could. Their life wasn't pretty, but it was survivable. Soon enough, the Legion sent their commander, Magtheridon, to subjugate the orcs and any other race they deemed useful for their cause. As you can imagine, the Horde wasn't too keen on falling back in line as the Legion's pet, and they jumped at the first opportunity to overthrow their demonic overlords. That chance came in the form of the demon hunter Illidan Stormrage, who gave them the power and knowledge required to contain the Pit Lord and use his blood to further the blood ritual that first damned their race. With new bloodlust and red skin, Cargath leads his fell horde under the rule of Illidan, and they'll gladly lay down their lives for the man who spared them from an eternity of enslavement. He may be a living legend who cut off his own arm only to replace it with a blade, but we're the only ones who are capable of taking on the Warchief. The honor and glory of taking down the great Cargath Bladefist is ours. In the hallway leading from Ohm Raja to Cargath's rooms, there are of course a bunch of guards, but there's also quite a few enemies that you won't see right away. Shattered Hand assassins litter the hallway and number just as many as the guards that you can see, so just be careful. Being such a legendary warrior in the lore, there's no other character class that would suit Cargath quite as well. Many of the boss's abilities are the same as a standard warrior's, with sweeping strikes and charge in his arsenal. Cargath will also cast Blade Dance every so often, which is actually pretty difficult to dodge, so just try your best. Various trash mobs will also join in the fight, so make sure you don't let them stack too much or you will die. Also, quick side thing, after you kill the boss, you'll notice there's a Shattered Hand Executioner behind him. This mob will actually drop quite a few rare items that can be used for various professions. Some of them have lower drop rates than others, but it's still worth a shot if your group doesn't immediately want to leave the dungeon. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. Links for my social media and whatnot are in the description below. And as for the comment question, do you think the Burning Crusade did Cargath's character justice, or did Warlords of Draenor's alternate version do a better job? As someone who reads a lot of the Warcraft novels, I know a lot more about the ruthless chieftain of the Shattered Hand than most. Personally, as someone who hates everything Burning Crusade, I still have to say that the original character was better than the Warlords version. Anyways, that's all the time I've got for today, so until next time, don't die.